This is a video that I was going to make a little while back, but I didn't have the opportunity at the time. So it's a little late, but I almost felt obligated to do this one. About 7 months ago, I made a video called The Missing Privilege, in which I make the joke that I have every privilege that is important. I'm white, I'm male, I have the use of all my limbs, I even have the thin privilege, more or less. But there's one privilege that I'm missing. There's something I lack that so many other people have. I don't have a full head of hair. I am follically underprivileged. Now, the joke there is supposed to be that even though the concept of privilege has been pushed all the way to thin privilege, no one is going to be silly enough to think that bald people are underprivileged. There's never going to be a hair privilege. I really, really underestimated the human race. Because this is an article, and this showed up a bunch of different places, actually. Villanova student shaves her head to confront hair privilege. That's not a joke. Someone did that. A Villanova student claims that shaving her head helped her confront her hair privilege, as well as society's oppressive gender norms. "I'm not a big fan of being oppressed, and I don't like it," said Yvonne Gwen in a Facebook Live video where she shaved her head on camera to Beyoncé songs. Since this article's publication, she has taken down the video. Well, that's good for everyone. A little less Beyoncé can only help us all. In an op-ed for the student newspaper, Gwen said that the oppressive societal gender norms had made her feel like she was only a true girl if her hair was long, straight, and silky. "Shaving my head enabled me to be reflective of ways society forces me to conform to labels that I didn't choose. Shaving my head liberated me, as I allowed myself to be faithful to my values and genuine self." Someone said that. Someone actually said that. "At the same time, I'm also very privileged," Gwen added in her Facebook video, explaining that her bald head was a show of solidarity for people with cancer or alopecia. Okay, not sure I pronounced that last word right. I've only ever seen it written, never heard anyone say it. "I would like to remember the privilege I have in terms of being able to grow my hair out," she wrote in the accompanying post. "Dude, this is awesome that you're doing this," one of Gwen's friends commented as she shaved her head. But like I said, when I looked it up, I found that article in a number of different places. But here's her own article as it appeared in the Villanovan, the campus newspaper. "Shaving my head. Oppression, privilege, and power." That's the actual article. That's the title of it. On March 17, 2017, St. Patrick's Day, or St. Baldrick's Day, I shaved my head with the aid and support of friends. Naturally, people have asked me, "Why did you shave your head?" I gotta admit, I'd probably ask that question myself. "1. Over the past few years, I would cut my hair, but each time I was told by others that I didn't look like a true girl until my hair was long, straight, and silky. Small and constant comments about how to play the role of my gender were burdensome." I feel her pain. "I never felt like I would be fully accepted for being my true self. Throughout my life, I was told how to look, think, feel, act, and be a girl in order to fit in. Society's oppressive gender norms bound me. Shaving my head enabled me to be reflective of the ways society forces me to conform to labels that I didn't choose. Shaving my head liberated me, as I allowed myself to be faithful to my values and genuine self." I'm sorry, it's hard to hold it in. 2. Generally, it has been easy to forget about my privileges or my unearned access to resources due to my membership in advantaged societal groups, like people with hair. However, as a privileged Villanova student, I have the ability and responsibility to recognize my privileges and how I oppress others. Well, if you're oppressing others, you really should stop, but I don't see what the hell that has to do with your hair. Shaving my head allowed me to be in solidarity with people undergoing cancer treatment and take time to identify the privileges that I take for granted. Some of these privileges include food, water, shelter, safety, social support, freedom of speech, education, and hair. On her little list there, the one that bothers me the most is freedom of speech. This girl considers freedom of speech to be a privilege. Freedom of speech is a fundamental human right that everyone is entitled to. It should not be considered a privilege by anyone. Yes, I realize not everyone has the ability to express themselves, because there are parts of the world where freedom of speech is not guaranteed. It doesn't mean they don't have freedom of speech. It means that their right to freedom of speech is being infringed upon. That's not the same thing. It is not terrible that one person has something that another person doesn't. It's terrible that not everyone has what they should have. That's not the same concept. 3. I have wanted to shave my head for over 2 years, but giving up my hair was something I genuinely feared. Society's gender oppression paralyzed me. I didn't know if I would be able to feel beautiful or societally accepted. But after the Villanova's service and justice experience that I embarked on this semester, I realized more now than ever the imperative need for social justice, as I've encountered people who endure living on the margins of society. If you'd really never before encountered anyone living on the margins of society, you've lived a pretty sheltered life. I begin to understand this girl. Shaving my head permitted me to focus and recognize not just my oppression and privilege, but also my power to change the circumstances for me and others. Shaving your head did that. Even though I'm sorry, the next sentence really gets me. Even though unshackling the chains of oppression and giving up unjustified privileges was a daunting task, I was forced to choose who I wanted to be. Would I fully commit to the fight for human rights, or tend to my own superficial appearances and status? I chose the former, to be a woman for others. Honestly, I don't think the people who endure living on the margins of society give it 2 shits about whether or not your hair is long. And here's a picture of her if you want to see what she looks like. Let me tell you, looking at that, I begin to feel empowered. I feel less oppressed now that she has shaved her head. In order to fully utilize power, one must understand the ways in which systems maintain advantages and disadvantages based on social group memberships and operate consciously and unconsciously on individual cultural and institutional levels. For example, people are oppressed and privileged for their race and ethnicity, gender and sexual orientation, socioeconomic class, physical, developmental, and psychological ability, and citizenship. However, using one's power comes with a caveat. One must forego some of their undeserved privileges to provide justice for others. Are you willing to shave? One must forego some of their undeserved privileges to provide justice for others. I hope that she's not actually trying to imply that shaving her head, removing that undeserved privilege, somehow provides justice for others. Now, I genuinely hope that even most progressives would read something like that and laugh it off. But the concept still bothers me. It reminds me of a Kurt Vonnegut story I read once called Harrison Bergeron, or Bergeron. I've never been sure how to say it. But in that story, Vonnegut imagines a world in which no one is allowed to have any advantage over anyone else. To that end, any advantage you have, no matter how trivial, is taken from you. Attractive people have to wear masks so that you can't tell how attractive they are. Athletic people have to wear weights to slow them down and to make them less strong. People who are intelligent have radios installed in their ears so that every few seconds it makes a sound that distracts their train of thought so they can't so that they have no advantage over people who are less intelligent. And it's a nightmare scenario when you start trying to take advantages from people who have them. Now, Vonnegut's story is not something to be taken seriously. I recognize that. It would never get that bad. Not even most progressives would ever push things that far. But that's not the point. In a world where you have Justin Trudeau putting together a cabinet that is 50% women to prove the point, then you're leading to a world that disadvantages people who have natural advantages, to the detriment to everyone. Now, I'm not Canadian, I'm American, so I only have to give half a damn about Canadian politics, but all the same, that bothers me. Because what if the best candidates for that cabinet are more than 50% men? And the immediate question is, well, what if it were more than 50% women? Would that bother you? No, not at all. If I were the Prime Minister of Canada, I would pick the best people for the job because that job is that important. But for a lot of people, limiting the advantages of the advantaged is more important than getting the job done, no matter how important their job is. So as small and trivial and petty as this may seem to be, it's indicative of a larger problem. Shaving your head does not prevent oppression to anyone. Removing your advantages doesn't help anyone. I don't know how to say it any clearer than that. Then again, what the hell do I know? I don't have any hair privilege.